Week edition of the StattoJoe live show with me, StattoJoe, and Luke Sexy Sherwin.
Wow, that's definitely your name, but thank you very much. It is a delight as always. Excited to chat through some football that took place this week.
It's a weird one because we had our show on Sunday and there was football, but there's been football Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, tonight. There's football again tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. So it's kind of a constant stream at the minute of football. But we're going to cover kind of the Monday to Thursday portion of the games. And then we're back again on Sunday, 8 o'clock. You know we are. FA Cup final. Newcastle United absolutely destroying Manchester City. All that good stuff. But look, the main headline really tonight, and the only place we can really start is with that game at Old Trafford we just saw between United and Liverpool. Do you want to give me your thoughts? Just give me your thoughts.
Yeah, interesting game. I didn't really know what to make of it, but I'll tell you what, it was so nice to see a big game have lots of goals. Like that
Amen.
was so good. It was unreal to watch a big game between the top six and actually have them going out and scoring goals. What, 4-2? Great. That is so fun. 2-1 in both halves.
You love to see it.
It's unreal. Good game. Interesting game. United did the opposite of United. Scored first. They actually scored first.
I know.
And then Liverpool came back. That was easy. Get in. We deserved it. I do think Liverpool deserved it. Apex there said he's surprised it wasn't 0-0. Weren't we all?
It's true.
Like,
I thought it was going to be 0-0. I thought it was going to be 0-0. I thought it was going to be 0-0.
We all did, but it's so nice that it's not. Really good performances by some players. Luke Sherwin, man of the match. Who could do it on a cold, wet Tuesday night at Stoke? And do you know what? I'm going to give it to Firmino. I thought Firmino actually played really well for the first time in a really long time, in my opinion. I think he played really, really well. Evening, Mikey. Lovely to have you.
Are you all right? Surely Trent was man of the match by a clear mile.
I don't think so. Firmino got 2 goals.
Phil, I've got your back, mate. I thought Trent was outstanding tonight, and honestly, for me, Trent has pretty much booked his place in Gareth Southgate's team for the Euros with that performance tonight. He was unbelievable. He was so good. That ball he put in for Firmino's header was just... Thank you very much. I'll put that on a plate for you, Bobby.
It was good, but those are the chances that Bobby Firmino will usually miss. And so I think he deserves the credit here. He's done very well to score that goal. Both goals taken well. I think he did well. You're not. You can have your opinions. Trent played very well, but I think Firmino played better than he usually would, and that's why he deserves it. Trent played as he always did. And so I don't know. Maybe it's like the Messi debate. Messi plays the best player on the pitch every week, and so we don't rate him as highly because it's just normal for him. And in this case, I think that's the case for me. Trent played very well, but I'm so used to Trent playing really well. I think Firmino hasn't been as good. So fair play. If you think Trent was really good, that's great. He was really good, but I think Firmino had a slightly better than average game, so he gets the man of the match for me. So I assume you're going for Trent.
I'm going to go Trent purely because Trent has had a pretty rough season, which I don't think is unfair to say. And I'm not saying that as a derogatory in like he's crap, mate. He's not. He's still up there as one of the best right backs in the league. However, hasn't had a great season. So tonight it was like the Trent Alexander-Arnold of last season, right?
Yeah.
He was just superb, and I think. I still feel that United were pretty poor tonight, but I don't think that takes anything away from just how good Trent Alexander-Arnold was this evening. Guys, if you're watching, can you please be sure to give it a like? Give this video a like. If you're on Facebook, like it. If you're on YouTube, like it. It really, really helps us out, pushes out there. We really, really appreciate it. This is one of the talking points, Adam, we're going to get into kind of later on about will Liverpool make top 4. Probably too little too late, but we will get into it more. I think it's more after the result rather than performance, Adam. I don't think that performance is going to get them top 4 because good performances aren't going to get you 3 points necessarily. But I think it will be interesting to see what happens in the next couple of weeks, because this top 4 race, literally a week ago, I thought was sorted. And now in the last week, it has completely dramatically changed. It's insane. So yeah, but you know what we're all about here? We're all about the sexy stats. And as I have now called them, podcast listeners, you're welcome for that new introduction. Again, look, as you said, what a fantastic game of football. And as you can see there, my favourite thing, the attack momentum meter, you can see it very, very patchy, although the patches favour Liverpool for a lot of the game. Certainly in that first half anyway, which I think the attack momentum meter is always the best reflection kind of how the game ebbed and flowed. Do you have any kind of thoughts on certainly the first half in particular? Because it seems to go like back and forth quite a lot.
Yeah, United started off all right, but I think we're fortunate to get the goal. And when they got it, Fabinho didn't do overly well at tracking back to track Bruno Fernandes, and he got back there but didn't really close him down in any way. Let him get the shot off. I'm kind of glad that the actual shot didn't go in. I think it would have been unbearable from United fans had that outside of the foot attempt nestled into the corner. It would have been disgusting. And so I'm kind of glad, Nat Phillips was thinking about Twitter. He was thinking about what the fans would say, and so he's like, I'll just Billy Booster this into my own net.
Stick it in.
Yeah. But then Liverpool responded really well. They attacked well after that, and Diego Jota could be up there, one of the greatest signings for Liverpool in the last couple of seasons, probably. He's been very good, and showed his class despite his really low rating there. Did really well for the goal. I think, fair play to Diogo. And then, the goal just before halftime was exactly what they needed. A goal just before halftime, changes the team talks, as they would say on FIFA commentary. Changes the team talks massively, and Solskjaer has to try and fight back. Brought on Greenwood, sorry, to try and do that. But Greenwood hasn't been unbelievable. He can finish, but he hasn't been great contributing to the play. So
no.
Liverpool did well to come back, but then once they got that second goal, never really looked like losing it.
Yeah, I mean, Alisson really did have a shaky game tonight. Both keepers were poor tonight. Alisson very early on nearly gifted United a goal. Cavani wasn't able to do anything with it. He did look shaky. It is interesting that he's conceded 2 goals, but has a rating of 5.8, whereas Dean Henderson conceded 4 and has a rating of 6.4. Arguably, Dean Henderson wasn't that good tonight either. Like, Liverpool's third was a calamitous goal with Fred giving the ball away first. Then United managed to get the ball back, but then they gave away the ball again. Then Trent hits a shot that Henderson doesn't deal with very well at all. And then it just kind of goes straight to Firmino. And it was actually a very good finish to chip it over the keeper.
Not a match, I would argue.
Well, you see, here's just with the ratings. I need to debate this highly, because Firmino has an 8.7, right, and has scored 2 goals. Trent Alexander-Arnold has an 8.1, and he hasn't scored anything. So I would have to say that it's quite obvious here. Look, Sherwin.
He got an assist. Fair play.
He got an assist.
His passing accuracy, though, mate. Have a look at that. Have a look at his. You'll be disgusted.
Oh no, that's like worse than what I get at uni. 67%. No, actually, that's a lie. I mean, I get Trent always seems to lose possession a lot. He lost it 24 times tonight.
Yeah,
which is a pretty standard Trent. But I thought he was excellent tonight. I really did. Stats wise, though, guys, very even on the stats page. If we're looking at this for the whole game, possession, United edge possession very slightly, 53-47. 18 shots, Liverpool 17 for United. However, they only managed 3 shots on target, which is shocking, and they scored 2 of those. So bear that in mind. Whereas Liverpool managed a really, really good 8 shots on target from their 17. Like that's what you want to be aiming for. And that even still isn't great, but in comparison, that's very good. Big chances, Liverpool had 6 of them. They missed 2. United had 3 big chances and missed 3. I don't remember that, but here we are.
Yeah, I guess a few of the chances just towards the end, maybe.
Yeah.
But like there was one kind of scramble towards the end, when there's a couple of shots, saved or blocked off the line, and those probably count as a couple of big chances.
Yeah, that's probably true. Past accuracy, look, I'm gonna have to say it. There's a sad face for me tonight because both teams only managed 79%, and that's simply not good enough.
It's not.
So
it's poor.
I'm sad.
But are you really surprised by a United team that starts with McTominay and Fred in midfield?
No,
passing is not what they're going for. And then, Liverpool kind of surprised me in terms of passing, but then they have Reece Williams and Nathaniel Phillips at the back, so passing's not necessarily what they're going for from them. And usually the centre backs inflate those stats, so I'm not really surprised.
Well, it was a strange game in that it was good, first of all, but also United seemed so kind of off it. And the one thing I do want to mention, actually, which I was thinking about this more and more throughout the game. Do you know who United really missed tonight? Harry Maguire.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to mention that earlier, actually, when we were just running through at the start. Victor Lindelof and Eric Bailly are okay, but that's it. Like, that's their limit. They're okay. They're not world-class centre-backs. They never will be. They're decent enough for Premier League, but without Harry Maguire, who, massive price tag. Yes, we have to acknowledge that. But also a massive influence in this United team. You can tell the way he plays, the leadership that he shows in that back line, the way he's always willing to get up and get involved. He's a great player. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate
big love there from Andy.
But yeah, I think Harry Maguire he's a leader, and they will miss him if he misses these last 2 games. It's okay, at least, because they've got nothing to play for. But it's a big loss, and hopefully, for the sake of England, hopefully he's not out for too long. Hopefully he's back happily in time for the Euros, because I think England genuinely need him.
He's one of those players where people don't seem to understand the influence that he actually has on the rest of the squad, and I think that people are so quick to look at all his mistakes and write him off when actually he plays. He often plays well, like without people realizing it almost. Yeah. So I think that's quite an interesting dynamic. I think he was missed. I do think that because Harry Maguire started every game pretty much, that Bailly and Lindelof have never played together. It's always been Maguire and one of them. I think that had a massive impact. But and Luke Shaw didn't have his best game tonight. Pogba was ultimately at fault for Firmino's first goal because he ultimately slipped, and that led to Firmino having a free header. I think he lost the ball as well for the third goal. So he didn't have a great game, but grand. There's Andy's asking about Nat Phillips and Williams. How do we rate them tonight? What do you think about that, Luke? And I'll give my thoughts after.
I like Nat Phillips. I think he's a good old-fashioned centre-back. Would happily take him at Stoke. He would do a job alongside Harry Suter and just boof the ball out of his head every time. Him and Maguire would be scary beside each other. Nat Phillips is decent, and fair play. He got 7.8 here, despite the fact he scored an own goal. It's pretty impressive. I thought he played really well. Reece Williams just looks inexperienced. He looks nervous when he's on the ball. He doesn't look like a Premier League quality player. He doesn't look like a reigning champion quality player. And I think he just needs more experience. Alone in the Championship next season would do him wonders. Get him that physical football. Get him playing week in, week out, 3 times a week. Get him on the ball, heading it away. Just get him more experience, I think.
Totally agree with everything you just said there. I don't have anything to add, actually, because exactly what I thought.
But interesting, Joe, tonight, because ultimately Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made the decision to rest his full team on Tuesday night against Leicester. It's another game we're going to talk about. Just briefly, Leicester beat United 2-1 at Old Trafford. Both games at Old Trafford, so now they've lost 2 in a week. Ole, I keep saying Ole rested the first team squad because they played on Saturday or Sunday, which is fair enough. But should he have played the full team on Tuesday, gone for the arguably the easier win? Especially Leicester, who were on the back of a 4-2 thrashing from a team. I'm not sure who it is.
One of the best teams in the league.
Should they have played the full strength team, gone for the win? Because they were not in no way guaranteed to win tonight against Liverpool.
I think it kind of backfired on them, because had they lost 4-2 to Liverpool tonight and played a second team, we would be like, that's respectable. You know, that they've played the reserves and they've lost 4-2. Whereas now you're like, you've lost to Leicester, who have not been in good form with your reserves, and now you've put out your full team and you've been outclassed a wee bit. Andy says, as a Liverpool fan, by the way, for podcast listeners, he was always nervous whenever United attacked, but needs to have more faith in Phillips. I think that's fair enough, because Phillips isn't, there's no Kabak, he's injured. And apparently Liverpool aren't going to sign him, which I'm really surprised at, because I thought they quite liked him. But anyway, yeah, that was kind of tonight's game. But the game on Tuesday night was interesting because they played a lot of youngsters. There's a couple of players here on that team who never, ever would have started a Premier League game if they hadn't been in this situation. Yeah, it's a weird one. Like,
if we're talking that game Tuesday night, first thing you have to say, and the main talking point from that game should be Luke Thomas for Leicester played left back, and he scored an unbelievable volley.
Yeah.
Like, for a left back,
yeah.
The composure on show, everything that he did with that composure, that technique, that finish, fair play. Like, that is so ballsy to do at Old Trafford. That is so good. Andy and I were watching it together, and we were both kind of like taken aback when that went in. It was such a great finish. So fair play to Leicester. Leicester bounced back really well. And they were playing, obviously, this weekend United team on Tuesday night. A team with a few international players in it, but in general, no real starters for international teams. David De Gea would start. Eric Bailly would start, but for not a great international team. Nemanja Matic would start, but he's like 50. Donny van der Beek would start, but the Netherlands aren't great. And other than that, you've got young players who I thought did okay at times, showed glimpses of what will come in the future. This is a future squad for United that play largely with a few experienced players to help guide them. But in general, United didn't look very good. Greenwood did really well to score, took that really well. But Leicester, I thought, held on, played well. I don't know, though, Joe, if 2 up at the top for Leicester works. I don't know if Jamie Vardy and Iheanacho playing together works, because it certainly hasn't seemed to. What do you reckon?
I don't know if it does. I think Vardy prefers being by himself, to be honest, because he's. I mean this with respect. Like, he's a selfish player, right? So he likes to get the ball and do his thing, or run after the ball or whatever. And I think sharing that with someone else actually has made him almost more withdrawn in his game. He hasn't scored many goals recently. Iheanacho's the most prolific striker in Europe at the minute. Since February, he scored the most goals, I think, in any league in Europe. I think I'm right. I'm pretty sure I heard that on commentary on last week.
In 2021, Iheanacho has the same goals and assists as Harry Kane. So that in itself is a testament to how well he's played. In 2021, these last 5 months, Vardy is the epitome of a non-league footballer. From rags to riches, as they always say, and they will remind you every time he plays, he's a non-league footballer, and that's the way he needs to play. Still, it's not working with another striker. He doesn't play 1-2s and look for the give and go. He plays, I'm going to run as fast as I can into the channels, or you play the ball over the top against a slow defender, and I'm going to outpace him. I don't think he's been slowing up too much. I think he still shows the glimpses when he's played, but I don't think he works as a front two because he's not a give and go player. He needs to just run in behind.
I think Josh makes a decent point because he is getting towards the end of his career now. You know, he is getting older, and maybe that's Brendan Rodgers thinking. But I just think when you watch him play, it's like he doesn't know whether to go or not because he's not sure what the other player's doing. And I think he maybe looks slower because he's more indecisive now than he would be if he was by himself up top. And I think that's really the main issue, right? So
yeah, it's difficult because Iheanacho has forced his way into the team. You can't drop him, you can't leave him out. But Iheanacho plays better with the second striker.
Yeah,
Iheanacho plays better with somebody who you can give and go with. And so it's a weird dilemma of Vardy wants to play on his own, Iheanacho doesn't, and probably wouldn't be as good playing on his own. And so it's difficult because Iheanacho can't be dropped, but Vardy, you know, is one of the greatest players in Leicester City history. And so it's a difficult balance that Brendan Rodgers has at the moment. Hopefully they can manage to hold on and get top four. I would like them to get top four. I think they deserve it. Johnny Evans, the greatest man alive, deserved it. It'd be nice to see Leicester get the top four.
And that kind of transitions us nicely into that top four race because looking at the table here, now I did not realise this. This is scary how close it is.
Squeaky bum time. It properly is squeaky bum time.
So ignore City and United, right? Because they're definitely going to be top four. Leicester are in third. They've played 36 and they have 66 points with a goal difference of plus 21.
Yeah.
Chelsea have played 36. They're in fourth. They've played 36 with a goal difference of plus 22 and have 64 points. In fifth place now after tonight's result, Liverpool, they've played 35 with a goal difference of plus 20. They have 60 points. So should they win their game in hand, they're only 1 point off the top four.
Yeah.
In sixth, with 35 games played, goal difference of plus 10, West Ham, who have 58 points, which is honestly unbelievable. And then really, I don't really know if Spurs or Everton really are going to get in. So I'm going to leave it at that because they're both on 56 with 35 games played. What do you think is going to happen now?
So this is a massive week now for the top four race because Leicester and Chelsea play each other twice. First in the FA Cup final, and then after that, I think is it next Wednesday maybe? It's in 5 days. Next Tuesday. What's the 18th?
18th Tuesday.
Like Tuesday. Yeah. On Tuesday they play again in the Premier League. That is a massive game because if Liverpool were to win their game at hand and go on 63 points, they'll be one behind Chelsea. Chelsea then don't win. Liverpool have an opportunity to go above them. That's mad. That is mad. Personally, part of me kind of wants Liverpool to sneak in, win their game and then win and hope that Chelsea lose to Leicester, and then have Chelsea finish fifth, and then hopefully, actually I don't want Chelsea to win the Champions League. I want torn. I really don't want them to win. I want Man City to win the Champions League. I want 5 teams. I would like 5 teams for the Premier League in the Champions League next year. But that's not going to happen, sadly, because I don't want Chelsea to win. I don't know. Who would I rather have in the top 4? Liverpool, Chelsea, Leicester? I'd probably rather see Leicester and Chelsea. Just because, as we've talked about in the podcast intro a few times, Liverpool fans are a bit unbearable, you know.
But not even that. I actually think Liverpool don't deserve top 4, and that's not because I've got an agenda against them. It's because they lost 6 Premier League games in a row at home, and I think that whenever you're going, I know the Champions League is going to be next season, right? And I get that. And Josh has got a question in the chat there about Liverpool for title next year, and we'll mention that briefly. But whenever you like, I just think that this season in general, Liverpool have not been at a good enough standard for me where I go, yeah, that's a season that deserves Champions League. So I don't mean, nobody deserves Champions League. Nobody, you don't end up in, City have won the league deservedly, so they're the better team. But like in those nitty gritty places, you don't just deserve Champions League based on your place. What I mean by that is you wouldn't look at this season, right? And if I didn't tell you where Liverpool finished and then show you all their games this season, Luke's just died on me. But if I was to show you the games that they've played this season, and I was to show you the highlights of this season, I don't think anybody would go, "Oh yeah, that's a season that deserves Champions League." The same way if I have to show you Spurs highlights, right? You wouldn't go, "Right, Spurs deserve Champions League." Maybe even the same for Chelsea. If I showed you Chelsea this season, you might not necessarily go, "Yes, they deserve Champions League." So like, I think that it's difficult. I would personally rather see a fight. I would rather see if Liverpool were to get top four, I would rather it was Chelsea that would miss out rather than Leicester, because I would quite like Leicester to get top four. So, like, I think if it was City, United, Leicester, and then one of Chelsea, Liverpool, West Ham, I'd be happy enough for that.
We're in a weird position in that genuinely Liverpool could finish fifth and then win the league next year.
Yeah.
Or they could finish fourth, undeservedly, probably get Champions League and win the Champions League next year.
Yep.
Because Liverpool on their day are unbeatable. When Van Dijk's playing, when Joe Gomez is playing, when Trent plays well, when Firmino has a man of the match performance like tonight, they're really, really good. But I don't know. It's one of these things. Liverpool can go either way. We've seen now. Before this season, I would have said Liverpool are unbelievable. A really good squad, really good team, will win the majority of matches. But having seen the fragility that happens after a few injuries to two key players in particular, Jordan Henderson and Van Dijk, those two injuries have caused massive change at Liverpool this season.
I do think if Liverpool get top four, it would be an unbelievable achievement, because from as in the way they've turned it around in the last 6 weeks. So there was no chance they were getting top four 6 weeks ago. No chance. They were beaten by Burnley, Fulham, Brighton. Who else was at home? All these teams at home, but they have turned it around, and they've gone on beat. I think they've got the most points now in their last 5-6 games or something in the league. They're the top form team at the minute. They played really well against United tonight, and you know what? Genuinely, I think made the difference tonight. Klopp started Jota over Mane tonight.
Yeah.
And Jota looked lively. He looked energetic. He's just it was a weird, people thought it was a weird signing at first, right? Because it was like, was it 40 million they paid for him or something like that? People maybe thought overpriced. But he came in and he's done a great job this season.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Yeah, he has. And I think it'll be interesting because Liverpool could get Champions League this season, and admittedly, from Liverpool fans, they've had a pretty poor season, and yet they can still get top four. What a crazy league this whole thing is! It's so mental.
It's been the same though across all of world football. Like, results just haven't gone like we expected them to. There's winners of the various leagues that nobody would have predicted at the start of the season. It's been a wild time for football. Fans not being there has made such a big difference. Liverpool were top at Christmas.
Yeah.
Man City were 8th. Man City were 8th at Christmas. Like, that is a weird turnaround, a massive turnaround for City to be able to finish so comfortably ahead. Is a testament to how terrible Liverpool have been over those first few months after Christmas. And yes, they have turned it around. Over the past 3 months, they've been okay at times, but I don't know. I think this Leicester Chelsea game will be a make or break. If Chelsea win it, then I think Leicester and Chelsea finish in the top four.
Yep, agree.
If Leicester win, Liverpool probably finish in the top four. And if it's a draw, Liverpool probably win the top four. So I think for the good of football, Chelsea need to win.
And then leading on to that, then obviously on last night, Chelsea lost 1-0 to Arsenal. A big surprise result. You kind of called it though, didn't you, the other week? Because we were chatting about how Arsenal have been pretty crap, but then, or you would say it would be the type of game, the Chelsea game, where Arsenal would go and win, and Arsenal have then beaten Chelsea in both games this season in the Premier League.
Yeah. You asked me who had Tuchel lost to in the Premier League, and I wasn't 100% sure, and I remembered one of them, and I couldn't remember the second one, and I said Arsenal.
Yeah.
And it turns out I'm just a prophet. It was just a week too soon, and I was able to tell that Arsenal would win this weekend. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't be pleased. I wouldn't be pleased at all for various reasons. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be pleased, one, because they didn't deserve the win. They scored a fluky goal from a terrible back pass that they nearly messed up. But thankfully defended well. Absolutely. It's what they've done well this season, is defend. But going forward, non-existent. After that, after the goal, non-existent. Was that a game plan? You could say so. But Arteta's been watching Guardiola, working under him, and that's not what Guardiola would do. So it makes me think that Arteta just doesn't have a baldy. Second reason I would be frustrated is because why on earth have they not been able to grind out 1-0 results against the terrible teams in this league? Why have they not been able to beat Fulham? The day of the Super League?
Villarreal last week.
Villarreal, they couldn't score a goal because Villarreal were set up and could defend and didn't give them a goal like last night. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm incredibly frustrated by that because they didn't look good going forward, and they've been so inconsistent this year that a double against Chelsea in the Champions League final sees them in 9th place in the Premier League. In the Premier League, if you win the games against the small teams, not the small team, got to give them some credit, the lower half teams, if you win those games, you get Champions League football effectively. You get a draw then against the big teams, win against the wee teams, you'll be in the Champions League places. Arsenal have got a couple of wins against Chelsea. Great, they've finally beaten a top 6 side away from home. Great, that annoying stat can go away now. But they can't beat Fulham. Yeah.
Arsenal, Liverpool, to be fair. So
Arsenal fans, I'm sorry that you have to watch this. And I'm also not sorry because I watch Stoke week in, week out, and that is crap as well. So it's just frustrating from an Arsenal perspective. What about you, Joe?
I mean, Arsenal bore me. We talked, was it last week or whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, about the Arsenal Newcastle game, and I told you I point blank just didn't care because it was a crap game, and that was both because A, Newcastle were rubbish, and B, Arsenal were rubbish. I think if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be like, hang on a second, we just beat Chelsea 1-0. We won at the weekend, and yet we didn't look like we cared for the game against Villarreal. That would make me more angry because obviously a European final is more important than getting 8th place. Call me cynical if you want, but that's just how I see it.
Spurs, mate. That's all Arsenal want. Just to finish above Spurs.
What an achievement. I think it's, again, another team who've had a ropey season. There's this unprecedented time. A lot of teams had very strange seasons this year. And, I mean, I think what's crazier was we were sent in a stat from Gareth McVeigh, who had said that in their last 25 games, Chelsea and Arsenal have got the same number of points in the Premier League.
Nuts.
What's that about?
It just shows how bad Frank Lampard was in the last tenure. Like, with his last 8 games, he had 1 win. It makes sense that in those 25 games then, it would be level. But Arsenal are a weird one because their home form has been awful, but away from home they're actually not bad.
Yeah, pretty good.
They like to turn up and ruin everybody's day, it seems. But weirdly, they seem to really miss their fans at the Emirates, and they're not a fan base that I necessarily would have attributed to being a big influence to a team. So it's a strange one from that perspective. But yeah, the game last night was interesting. A few decent performances from Mount, as always. Really solid player. Reece James looked okay. From an Arsenal perspective, Smith Rowe did all right. Gabriel played well at the back, and Leno had a much better game than he has been having this season. But all in all, some really poor football. El Neni played really badly in midfield. Billy Gilmore again played badly, which is really sad to see that he's played badly 2 games in a row when he's been given a chance. Jorginho played badly and cost the goal. The Bukayo Saka experiment at right wing back didn't work at all. He just looked out of sorts. He didn't have the attacking influence that he would have wanted to because Arsenal didn't have any attack. And if he's not playing forward enough, he has to just sit back and defend. And defensively, looked really bad against Pulisic and Chilwell. So yeah, a frustrating game from an Arsenal perspective. But hopefully, they'll look better next year.
I've just looked at the stats, right? Chelsea had 19 shots and Arsenal had 5.
That's exactly what I was saying at the start. Arsenal didn't deserve this win by any means. They had 33% possession, 2 shots on target, one of which was the goal. They had 1 big chance, which they scored. Like they had 79% passing accuracy. Arsenal. If Arsene Wenger's turning in his grave, but he's not even dead. That's how bad they are. He's turning in his grave. They've killed him off, and he's turning in his grave. It's shocking. But yeah, they defended, kept the ball out, and did Giroud deliberately hit the bar? Maybe he did. Maybe he really loves Arsenal.
North London Dread. North London Dread.
Yes.
Yeah. It's. I was just having a laugh to myself there because I was going through the stats while you were talking, and just to briefly let you know that yes, Chelsea essentially won every single stat apart from the defensive stats and yellow cards and goalkeeper saves. So this is a game where if I was to present to you the stats, you'd go, all right, so Chelsea won the game like 2 or 3-0. No. Arsenal won 1-0. Very, very strange.
Wow. Speaking of Arsenal, Sunday night, Arsenal played West Brom, ultimately beat them. And just, I feel like it's appropriate to touch on the fact that they then relegated West Brom with 3-1 win. Willian scored, finally. If I was Arsenal, I'd get rid of him. Average player. But then on Monday night, we also had a game, Fulham against Burnley. Fulham lost 2-0 to Burnley, who've been on a decent run, actually. But I say that they won 2 of their last 3. For Burnley, that's a pretty decent run. And Fulham also then got relegated. So confirmed the 3 going down. Sheffield United, who have looked miserable. West Brom, who did got Big Sam in, got him in, and thankfully got relegated because getting Big Sam in is a disgrace. And then Fulham got relegated, and it's going to get even worse because Scott Parker, the world's best manager, is going to go to Tottenham somehow. So those 3 have gone down. Brighton have stayed up. Newcastle have stayed up. Burnley and Southampton have stayed up. Crystal Palace as well, I should mention. So those teams have nothing really to play for in the last few games, just, I guess, performances to try and win places for next season. Newcastle are safe, thankfully, so that they don't have to get a result at City. But yeah, like there's the teams going down. Not surprising. All season, it's looked like they were the 3 teams that were going to go down. If you had to pick a player from each team, Joe, that should stay in the Premier League, who would you pick? One from each of those 3 that are going down.
Okay, Adam Luckman from Fulham.
Well, I don't know if he counts.
Why not?
He's on loan. He's on loan.
Oh, is he? From where?
From Leipzig.
Oh, I didn't know that. Marius Pereira from West Brom. Sheffield's difficult. Like, for me, the first name that came to my head for Sheffield United was Aaron Ramsdale. But it's difficult because obviously Sheffield have pretty much lost like most of their games. So I don't really know because I haven't watched enough Sheffield United really. Because when they've kind of all looked a bit subpar. You know what actually been interesting for me is that Ruben Loftus-Cheek was on loan at Fulham. Didn't look outstanding there. And you'd think that, you know, if he's supposed to be a quality player that Chelsea had with European experience, that he would come into Fulham, make a difference. he didn't look a great player. I don't know where his future is now.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, but why? Who do you think you would keep? Who would you keep in the Premier League then?
So I'll try and give a few different options than the ones you've mentioned. Mateus Pereira, as Andy's pointed out there, Mateus Pereira, what a guy! Arsenal could take them a lot better than Smith Rowe. I don't know if he is better than Smith Rowe all
Sorry,
round.
no.
Good player, but really good player. But Smith Rowe has a lot more future at Arsenal. I think Mateus Pereira would be a great signing for anyone. He could be a great Gylfi Sigurdsson replacement at Everton, something like that. I don't know.
Mediocre.
But then Adore could replace Gylfi Sigurdsson and be better.
I could.
So Mateus Pereira, yes, definitely. But my pick, there's two players for West Brom that probably deserve to stay up. Sam Johnson in nets has played really well, really good goalkeeper. But then again, most Premier League teams at this stage have really decent first choice
Goalkeepers are good
goalkeepers.
in the Premier League.
So he's going to be a backup. I've seen him linked with United if De Gea was to leave. I think he'd be a good backup there. But the one, Conor Gallagher, really like him. Really like Conor Gallagher for West Brom. I think he looks good.
Or
probably just because he looks like Todd Cantwell, and you know how much I love Todd Cantwell. But Conor Gallagher, I think, is a really, really solid player. From a Fulham perspective, I think most of their players are championship quality.
Yep, agree.
I think most of their players are really average. Don't know how Areola is playing for Fulham.
He's been good too. He's been good as well.
He's been decent. But if I was to pick anyone, it would probably be Josh Maja, the striker who obviously is notorious for being in Sunderland till I die, leaving in January when he said he would sign a new contract. So he's a bit of a scumbag, but I think he's a really good player.
I love him. He's, what a guy.
Absolutely. I think he's a good player, though. I think Josh Maja could do a job for a lower half team. As you say, Lookman's good, but Anguissa isn't bad either. Andre Sambo Anguissa in defensive midfield.
He looked pretty good on Monday night, actually. I watched the game on Monday night. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, and then from a Sheffield United perspective, I think there's a few good players in that team, but again, a lot of championship quality players who had a tight bond, which is why they stayed up, I think. But Sander Berg, or however you pronounce it, he's a really good midfielder, and I think he could do a job again at any team really in the Premier League. Well, not any team. He's not going to play for City, but he could do a job at a lot of teams in the Premier League, and he could probably go for relatively cheap. So he'd probably be one to look out for, from my thinking. But yeah, it's sad that the race is over for relegation. There's no excitement now at the bottom, but hey, it is what it is.
And just before we go, I want to briefly mention the early game today between Everton and Villa was a 0-0 draw. But the one thing I just wanted to point out very quickly was Jack Grealish came on for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And Villa looked a different team. And I was like, wow, this is like it's crazy the difference that Grealish brings to that Villa side when he comes on. Fouled all over the place. He was only on 20 minutes, got kicked about. But to be honest, for a 0-0, it wasn't a bad game. But no one really ever looked like scoring.
Although Martinez made a good save at the end.
He did make a save, but he's equaled Brad Friedel's clean sheet record at Villa. So he just needs to get one more clean sheet, and he'll have the most clean sheets for an Aston Villa goalkeeper in a single Premier League season, which, he'd be a contender, and we'll talk about this in a couple of weeks' time. He'd be an honest contender for goalkeeper of the year in the Premier League. He'd be a top contender.
You're absolutely right. I feel for Villa, I do, because I think if Grealish has been fit all season, they don't finish as low as they are now. They're sitting in 11th. I think they could easily have finished above Leeds, and it's not just because I hate Leeds. They could have finished above Leeds. They probably could have finished above Arsenal. They probably could have finished above Everton. And the way they're going, probably could have finished above Tottenham. I think I feel for them. He's a delight to watch, and I do hope he goes to the Euros, especially with the increased squad size. I think it'd be good to have him there.
Grealish, is this you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think he probably should go, but I mean, we'll talk about that. There'll be another podcast to talk about the England Euro squad. But that'll do us for tonight, I think. Been a pleasure again, Luke, as always. Not long again until the next show on Sunday. Plenty of football in between now and then. But
we've got an FA Cup final as well to talk about.
Yep. So it'll be a really good show on Sunday. I'm really looking forward to it. Obviously, the Sunday show's your phone-in show, so you guys can join in. And just before we go, just want to quickly plug the podcast, guys. If you missed anything from today's show, or you came in late and you want to listen to it back, the podcast is on Apple, Spotify, and Google, and there's exclusive bonus audio content for you guys to go and listen. So please go and check that out. We're really, really proud of it. We really are. But honestly, guys, thank you all so much for joining us. Great show, Luke. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure.
And we will see you all on Sunday. See you then, guys.